What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this, I want to talk about something very important about the overall market. We saw a very interesting close. The SPY kind of dumped towards the end of the day. And this is actually another form of manipulation that's going on with the market. So I want to talk about something very important about this and break down what this means for next week. Let me just mention that I am not a financial planner. Make sure you take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo and deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. You deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed 15 in total, and the offer ends very soon in just about 19 days from now. Anyways, for SPY, we have a double top like structure. We saw SPY try to attempt to break this high. We were holding up very nicely. We actually did a very good job at holding up for the first few hours of the day. And at the very end of the day, we saw the seller step in and kind of dump things. So it's very interesting how this ended up developing. This was literally just the last 30 minutes of the day the market just dumped, but despite it just kind of like pumping for the entire day. So this was another form of manipulation as they closed by just under 560 because of the options chain. They're trying to get less calls basically in the money. And the market makers, they did this manipulation, which is going to kind of change my analysis going into next week. That's why I want to talk about a very important range that's developing on SPY. So from the way things are going, I want to make it very clear that for next week, there's not really much data coming out. Couple of hours after the market ends up opening up the 3-month and 6-month bill auctions, then we also have Jerome Powell giving a speech, not to mention Daly, at around 12:30 p.m. Besides that, we have some bank earnings coming out. We have Goldman Sachs and BlackRock announcing their earnings on Monday. For Tuesday, we have Bank of America and a few others, not to mention TSMC and Netflix on Thursday. And we'll have to see how things end up developing from here. But anyways, I wanted to break down how this is actually going. If you look at SPY, we pushed all the way up towards 564. We were holding up very well towards the end of the day, and literally during the last 30 minutes, they just dumped SPY straight up back down. So it's pretty crazy how this happened. They did this because they're manipulating the markets, and when we look at the 4-hour time frame now, we have a double top like structure with this big rejection and another liquidity grab. This is looking kind of like symmetrical. It looks like we're going to see two of the same things. So see how we got this big pump. We pumped and then dumped. Well, it's almost like the same thing is going to play out where we kind of pump and then dump again. So this is now favoring a move to the downside. So it completely flip-flopped. It completely shifted on the 4-hour time frame, despite us trying to get a bullish cross in the PPO. We also have high volume selling that started happening. So this favors a move back down towards at least 558. If that fails us, we're going to be retesting our 20 EMA at 557. So the green line you see below is going to be retested on SPY most likely. If we lose that, we're going all the way down to 552. This looks like a double top, so it favors a big rejection. So we'll see how things go going into next week. For Nvidia, we pushed all the way up towards 137. Then we rejected. We made a lower high. So this kind of rejected again. We're currently around 129 a share, just under the 130 resistance. If we reject here, we're going to be coming back down to 127.9. If we break through this, we're going to be pushing higher. We'll have to see if we get a rejection or not, but Nvidia is showing signs of forming kind of like a lower high here before it kind of turns back down. So we'll see if that ends up being the case or not. For Bitcoin, we have a very interesting looking structure, making lower highs and lower lows, kind of rejecting right here. We also failed to hold above 58,000, so this kind of favors to move back down towards the 56,000 area. So watch and see what kind of reaction we get. There is some signals that suggest there could be a dip coming, so watch and see if that ends up being the case. For ES has a double top like structure. Right now, with this double top, in my personal opinion, I think that we're going to be looking for about 56.54 as our support. So 56.24 is going to be our next level below that. And we have resistance at 56.80. If we end up dipping lower, we're going to be looking for 56.54 as the next level. And I do think we're going to be testing this on ES. So lots of manipulation. We basically pumped, then dumped, then pumped, then dumped. So it's very crazy. It's not very consistent. The market's just in a range. And then if we do end up dumping lower, we'll be looking at our 50 EMAs as support for this nice range. So we have a nice range developing on SPY and ES. Because of this, Tesla is in a very strange place. So we basically pumped very nicely only to dump back down. We actually closed below our 4-hour 20 EMA. So it's a sign of weakness on Tesla. If we don't hold at 248 and we get a rejection, we're going to be dipping back down towards this imbalance. I think 245 is coming, if not 238. If we hold above this, we have to try to break past 250. So far, we've struggled to do that. So this is kind of favoring a move back down. We might see a little retracement on Tesla because of this. This could be a lower high being established. So you want to be very careful with this. Watch and see if we could hold above 250 or not. If we fail, watch 248.2. That's going to be our 4-hour 20 EMA. My gut tells me it might come down with the markets just a little bit to retest the mid 240s. For the QQQ, We pushed all the way up towards 500 only to reject. So we actually closed below our very, very important EMA. That's the 4-hour 20 EMA. This is a sign that we're establishing a lower high. So technicals favor a move back down towards 490. So very, very tricky price action. We got a big bounce only to reject. And that is once again market maker manipulation at its finest. For Apple, the same thing is going on. We pushed all the way up towards 232 holding up only to reject back down. And we actually closed just barely at 230. We're barely holding that in the after hours. So watch that next week. If we lose that, we're going back up down to 228. If we hold this, we could rebound. So we'll have to see how things end up going. For super micro, excuse me, we're trying to push higher. We have resistance at 920. Now it still has some upside potential. If we break past 920, we'll be looking for 940. If we fail to do so, we'll be dipping back down to 889. So we'll have to see if this is like a double top and we end up dipping. So I'll be watching to see if that ends up being the case. I'm going to be very patient with this nonetheless. For the IWM, we're just consolidating right here between 214 and 212. We could dip down towards 212, so we'll have to see how things end up going. So we have to be very patient nonetheless. For Coinbase, we have resistance at 219. If we fail to reclaim this, we're going to be coming back down towards 214. We're kind of struggling to hold above our 50 and 20 EMAs. So this suggests that downside is more prevalent and more probable for the share price. Amazon was trying to break out above 195.7 only to reject. So this is favoring downside, a move back down to the 192s. Meta is just barely holding its support at 497. If we lose that at the 200 EMA, there's going to be a bigger dip coming towards the mid to low 490s, all the way down to about 492 and even lower levels. So that's looking more favorable to me. And then for Microsoft, we're trying to dip right over here towards 450. So we're going to be watching to see if that ends up being the case. There is some more downside potential. For Google, we're continuing to fall right over here. We're going to be looking for basically 185. There's a good chance that this is going to tip lower, so I'll have to give this some time as well. So with that being said, guys, I want to thank you all so much for listening. I want to make this video kind of quick since it is a Friday. The market is just full of manipulation. We pumped again only to dump back down. So this was, this started off as a trap for the bulls. I'm sorry, a trap for the bears. Now it became kind of like a trap for the bulls. It kind of like flip-flopped. Now with that happening with the double top like structure, this is suggesting that we might see a little downside on Monday, but we haven't lost key support yet. We haven't lost our 20 EMA on SPY or even on ES. So the market still has some potential to hold up depending on if we hold that support. So there might be a temporary dip coming, but we'll have to watch and see how we end up reacting. So please be calm, cool, and collected, and then we'll have to see how things develop from here. But with that being said, I want to thank you all so much for listening. You guys are very, very dear to me. It's been a very, very crazy trading week, one of the craziest weeks I've seen in a long time with lots of volatility, and this may continue going into next week. We have Jerome Powell giving a speech again on Monday, so we'll have to see how things go, and it's going to be very, very interesting. But with that being said, I want to thank you for listening. Have a great weekend, and I'll be back tomorrow for one more update, just to break down how things are looking, at least for the markets and such, and maybe talk about trading and give you guys another lesson. So that's pretty much it for now. Have a great day, guys, and peace out.